Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, members and council officers to Wigtown Area Committee this morning, the 5th of May. It's a beautiful day, but we are still online, and the regulations mean, due to COVID-19, that we're not gathering physically, but we're using Microsoft Teams to participate virtually. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed and will be made available on the council website for public listening. Could I remind members to follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting. Should you wish to contribute to any item, you should write speak in the Teams chat function, and you'll be invited to speak in the order about new issues. Should your question or issue be raised by a previous speaker, please withdraw your request so that we can deal with the business as efficiently as possible. The chat function should not be used for contributions or questions should not be used that are material to the debate. The usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has a reason to leave the meeting, can I remind you to either leave the meeting for that period, or you can write leave in the Teams chat function and then join, and that allows us to monitor the members' presence. So first of all, I'll move to Cedrin and apologies, and I've confirmed that I'm happy for the participation of members remotely. I would declare, I'll go first of all to that, Tracy.
Thanks, Chair. We've got 4 members present. I have apologies from Councillor Tommy Sloan and Councillor Ros Surtees. Not present at the start is Councillors Giusti, McCammon. Giusti and McCammon. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Do members have any declarations of interest? Sorry, David, were you wanting to come in?
Yeah, Chair, can I give an apology? I've just had a call from Andy Giusti. He's been called into work. And an apology from Jackie as well. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. We'll note those down. Are there any declarations of interest? Willie?
Thanks, Katie. Aye, item 4, disposal of land adjacent to the store, close family member.
Okay. We confirmed previously that we only need a quote of 3, although we're not actually making any decisions at that one, so it is for noting and advising of any group members, so any other groups that members wish to add to the consultation on that one. So I think we should be fine with that. I just wanted to draw attention to item number 7, which is our area committee discretionary budget and tackling poverty. I plan to take each of these sections on their own, and we'll work through it in a logical manner. But just to draw your attention to the appendix, which has our proposed allocations. I am a trustee of the Whithorn Trust, which is mentioned within that proposed allocations. If we're happy to look at it en bloc, then I'm happy to remain in the meeting. However, if members wish to have a discussion on each of these individual groups, then at that point I will have to ask someone else to step forward into the chair, because I won't take part of that particular discussion around Appendix 2. But I'm happy to remain in the chair for the other aspects of that if members are quite happy. So we'll move on to minutes of our previous meeting on the 3rd of March. These are just for noting. Are members happy to note this?
Noted.
Thank you. And then moving on to item number 4.
I will leave the meeting, Chair.
No problem, Willie. Thank you. Shall we, Tracy, will you contact Councillor Scobie when we're moving on to the next item?
Yes, Chair, I'll dial him back in.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So the purpose of this report is the disposal of land adjacent to Leswall Village Store. We're being asked to note the land and note that the community groups listed at paragraph 3.5 have been consulted in regards to the potential community uses, and we're being asked to advise if there are any further groups members wish to consult regarding the potential community use. Now, the council is going through a review of the land disposal acquisition policy, and we do have Alistair Johnson here to answer any questions, I should say. The only one that I would have before I'll maybe ask Alistair to come in and add anything if he wishes to the report, and also open to members, is can we just confirm, and this I'll ask it now for the subsequent items, have we checked that none of the lands that we're discussing is part of common good? Because I know that that is an issue that's come up in the past. So just to make sure that we have checked our common good registers and none of these bits of land are in fact that.
Good morning, Alistair Johnson. Yes, I can confirm that this land in Liswalt has been checked and is not common good.
Thank you. Do you have anything else you wish to add at this point, Alistair?
Not really. I'm obviously happy to answer any questions. I consulted the ward officer on which community groups I should consult in terms of any interest in this land, and consulted the groups that I was advised on, and none of them came back saying they had any requirement or need for this area of land. Okay,
no, thank you. Thank you for that. I mean, I do note we've got Councillor Coleman, Councillor Ingalls and myself, and we're all in Ward 2 rather than Ward 1. But David, Jim, do you have anything that you wish to add at this point, or shall we move straight to the recommendations?
Yes, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're happy to note.
Chair.
Oh, yes, sorry, Jim.
Could I come in there, please?
Yes, absolutely.
I note at 3.6, no community requirement for the area has been identified. Does that therefore mean that the land is offered commercially?
The land is being offered commercially, yes, at market value. It's not a community asset transfer.
That's fine, Alistair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so if we move now to the recommendations, it's to note the 32 square metre of land, to note that the community groups listed have been consulted, and to advise if there's any further groups, which we haven't. So are we happy to pass those?
Happy to go, yeah.
Yes,
yep.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll just wait for Councillor Scobie to join us for the next item, item 5.
He's back now, Chair, thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, so item number 5, the next report, it's in a similar format but deals with a different piece of land, and this time we're looking at the disposal of land at Main Street and Bowling Green Road at Sandhead. So once again, I would just add, again, have we checked common good, Alistair? And yeah, anything else that you want to add specific to this piece of land?
Yes, again, the land has been checked. It's not common good. This area of land, it sort of came to our attention through an individual who had made an inquiry about acquiring the land, but the land will be placed on the open market for sale. So again, a commercial sale.
Okay, so that's fine, thank you. Do any members have any questions at all regarding this piece of land?
No questions, Chair.
No, nothing.
Nope. Okay, so if we move to the recommendations, again, we're being asked to note the 213 square metre of land at Main Street and Bowling Green Road at Sandhead. Note that the community councils and groups listed have been consulted, and advise if there's any further group members wish to consult, which we don't at this point. So if we're happy to agree those.
Agreed, yeah.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 6, which is once again a very similar report. This time we're looking at the disposal of land at Shore Head at Sandhead. So again, Alistair, common good, let's go through it, and anything else you wish to add.
The land's not common good. This is land that lies between the curtilage of a property and what's known as Shore Road. A number of other property owners along that same stretch of properties that sort of run along Shore Road have acquired the areas of land in front of their curtilage. There's a couple of houses that haven't, and this again has come around through one of the owners of a house looking to acquire the bit of land in front of their property, which will be a negotiated sale.
Okay. Can I just ask, I'm looking at the appendix with the photograph, and there's a further 3 properties down which have 2 bits of land next to those. Is that owned by the council as well, or are these privately owned pieces of land? Just wondering.
I'm having a bit of trouble actually. I've seemed to have I've lost the connection on the report, but if you can bear with me.
Yep.
So I'm trying to reconnect at the moment. I should be with you shortly.
That's okay.
Get in there. Come on. It always happens at the most inconvenient moments.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We're just grateful that we can still meet on Teams and just think of all the petrol and miles and times that we're saving by meeting online. So I am definitely a fan of the Teams meeting.
Right, I'm nearly there now. Browse meetings. Sorry, it's almost loading up now again.
Yeah, you're okay. Is it just the map you're looking for? Is that?
Yeah. Sorry. Right, I'm nearly there. So I'm really sorry about this. It's just it keeps this page is having a problem. It's now telling me.
That's okay. I guess my question. I mean, the appendix, it shows that the Bayview and Kincairn is the 2 properties which we're looking to the land adjacent.
They're the 2 properties where the council owns the land to the front of.
So my question was the land to, and I'm presuming we're orientated right, the land to the south of that, along the Shore Road, between Brackenbury and the White House. Does the council own those 2 plots of land? Or those in private?
I think all the other plots of land along that frontage in front of houses have been sold off in the past.
So this is the only section.
The only 2 areas that are left are the 2 areas in front of, you say, was it Kincairn and the adjacent property? Was it Bracken?
Bayview.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Do any other members have any questions on this report?
So I have actually been trying to contact the owner of Bayview to establish whether they have any interest in acquiring the land in front of their property as well. But I've not had any responses yet.
So can I just clarify, and I see Councillor Scobie's looking to come in, are we only looking at the land in front of Kincairn, or the whole section?
At the moment, I'm looking to dispose of the land to the front of Kincairn.
Right, because our appendix doesn't show that. It shows the land in front of Bayview as well as one plot.
Yes. Well, well, ultimately, I would be seeking to, if possible, dispose of both areas of land. But the current interest is to acquire the land to the front of Kincairn.
Right, so we maybe need an updated map for that one. But Councillor Scobie, were you looking to come in?
Yeah, come as no surprise, I'm not a great fan of this way, and nor am I of paperless meetings, and I think this highlights, without offering any criticism of Alistair in the questions that were asked. But, you know, I think it's eminently sensible to move on this one and to approve of the land as identified in Appendix 1, is it? Yeah, Appendix 1, and whether Bayview wishes to purchase that remains to be seen, but I would move that we just approve the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. Councillor Ingalls, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think we do need clarity on this. The area of ground in front of Kincairn, the area that's highlighted, it actually takes in Bayview as well.
Yeah.
So if what we'd need to avoid is that Bayview, you know, will not lose access to the back of the property if it's bought by Kincairn.
Well,
so Kate, the chair's quite correct in the drawing that we have. It highlights both sections in one section, if you know what I mean.
Right. Can I just clarify this? Sorry, that I'm just sort of trying to. I think I'm just concerned about issues around confidentiality and etc. etc. But you know, there's been an interest in acquiring the area of land to the front of Kincairn. However, in this report, I'm seeking to have both areas of land. Well, you know, I'm referring to both areas of land to give me the ability to be able to sell the other piece of land if the owner of Bayview is interested in acquiring that. But that is yet to be established.
Does that answer your concerns, Councillor Ingalls?
Yes, to a certain degree it does, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that the whole area of land in our ownership at the present moment in time going in the market can be bought by one house, which then leaves, you know, that's more of a concern. But if that's not the case, then fine. I'm happy with that.
I'm happy to take those concerns on board and, you know, endeavour to make it clear that, you know, I would only sell the area to the front of any particular property to that property, not any land that extends beyond that property's frontage.
Okay. It's also interesting, the chair made the point of the three other properties, Brackenbrae, Glenifer and the White House. The section of ground that backs onto Shore Road for those properties looks to be still not in their ownership, whereas Falnor, Tanners and Valhalla, you know, their drawing actually shows that they own that. So, you know, it'd be interesting to know whether those are actually in council ownership or have been sold.
I'm pretty certain that the areas in front of Brackenbrae, is it Glenifer and the White House have been sold as well in the past.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
The land,
Okay.
the area highlighted or edged in black is the land that's not been sold previously and is still in the ownership of the council.
I think, Alistair, can I just confirm that if we're noting and we're advising, would there be a further paper that comes to FPT, or is it Economy and Resources it would go to, or is it even Communities? Where is there further paper that comes to members at?
Not under the disposal policy. It's it's been declared surplus by Communities Committee, and it's been declared surplus to the council by Strategic Asset Board. I've undergone the sort of the community consultation part. So there is now sort of delegated authority to dispose of this land at market value without further recourse to committee. It would have to go to Finance, Procurement and Transformation Committee if it were to be sold at less than market value.
Okay, no, that's helpful to know. I think it is important that you maybe come back to all members just to clarify these points as to what the status of the other piece of land is, and that it is only the bit in front of Kincairn that we're looking to dispose of, because clearly the drawing states that it includes Bayview, that section in front. But I've got Councillor McComb looking to come in, and then I'll come back to Councillor Scobie.
Thank you, Chair. I can appreciate the concern with regard to the land in front of Bayview, and I note the reassurance Alistair has given, because according to the map, that land in front of Bayview offers the only access route to the property. So I think it is important to get a response from the resident or owner of Bayview.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Willie, were you looking to come back in?
Please carry in some interesting questions. For anyone who is familiar with Shore Road, the shore to the right-hand side of the appendix, the plan that we have here, and all those are frontages. That's where the people gain their access. So that's to the front from Shore Road, and it's been common practice that people have purchased those from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties that we see identified. They have obviously purchased, I believe they have purchased and extended their curtilage. So this would be the same for Kincairn, would be to allow them to extend their curtilage to take in that piece of ground. It would save the council a hell of a lot of money in continually cutting this piece of ground that is of absolutely no use to the council. And if we can get a capital receipt on it for whatever the value is, and I don't think it'll be that much value in them, then I think that's what we should be going for. So that's why I moved that we accept the report. And the same for Bayview. Once Bayview, Kincairn, should they purchase that, then they will possibly do the same to extend their curtilage, and they take on the responsibility of maintaining that piece of ground. It's a piece of ground running, as you can see there, that used to run alongside and was just one strip of ground the whole way along there at one time. So I would accept the report again and move on.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. I mean, if members are happy, we can move to the recommendation. There are a couple of questions. Jim, I see your hand still up, but I don't know if that's from your previous question. Nope, it's gone down again. There we are. Right. So if we're moving to the recommendation, we're noting the 693 square metres of land. We've noted that the Community Council and the groups listed in this report have been consulted with regards to potential community use, and we're advising if there's any further groups members wish to consult. I think it's quite clear that members want to be sure that we have consulted with Bayview, while they may not be a community group for potential use. I think it is important that we get that clarification from the owners of Bayview. So if members are happy to agree to those recommendations, we can move on. Yep.
Agreed.
Happy to agree.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Alistair.
Sorry about my technical difficulties there.
No, it's fine. It happens. It happens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll move on to the final item on my agenda this morning, which is the Whitton Area Committee Discretionary Budget and Tackling Poverty and Equalities Budget. We are going to take this in sections, as I said at the beginning, and there's a few issues that we need to note and a few considerations, mainly the method we want to adopt to decide the anti-poverty allocation to the committee, the key priority areas for the discretionary budget following the recent member seminar, and the key civic events and initiatives and our approach to applications, also discussed at the seminar. So firstly, the first point that I want to take is that we're noting the allocation of 50,500 to Wigtown Area Committee for Poverty and Inequalities. So are we happy to note that allocation first of all?
Happy to note.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. So we then need... Yep, absolutely, Councillor Scobie. We're noting the allocation amount just now. We're not discussing the method at this point.
No, I'm just seeking clarification, Chair.
Yeah.
On the poverty and inequalities money, I take it that is completely separate of all other funding, that it's not being incorporated into the discretionary grants, that we will deal, as we have in the past, with the poverty and inequality and seek applications for that fund.
That's certainly my understanding. In the past, we've always received two separate agenda items, but we have this time got them under one item of agenda. But I'll go to officers and possibly Wendy, who's looking at the lead officer for this. Can you just confirm that this is indeed a completely separate fund, Wendy?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. In relation to the funding, the fund is completely separate. However, in the basis of the report, if you see at section 3. Sorry, I can just find it here. 3.23. It talks about the allocation and the way the funding would be dealt with, which is slightly separate to the way we've done it in the past. And I can certainly come back to that once it's been agreed if the funding is to be allocated in a PB basis or an area committee basis, if that would help at all, Chair.
Yeah, no, we'll come to that, Wendy, and that's the next bit to take forward. Are you happy with that, Willie, that we'll move on to the agreeing of the allocation of this fund?
And again, I would say for members, and it's for us to decide, I would hope that we do consider this as a separate, once we do get into a process of how we're going to allocate it and all the rest, that we keep poverty and inequalities as a separate from the discretionary grant. So there's no ambiguity in any respect, that this remains as a separate fund for the purposes of poverty and inequality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And certainly, so we've noted the 50,500 that's available specifically for that. And we need to agree how we allocate that. Now, in the past, we've allocated it through participatory budgeting. We've given the people of Wigtownshire a choice of how they wish that money to be spent. And certainly, that's my preference. I believe that, the people living within Wigtownshire are the people best knowing where they feel that the poverty is and where they would like to see this money being spent. However, it's open to members and it's open to us today to decide whether we wish to continue giving the members public that opportunity to make that choice, or whether we wish to have a further process via a seminar where members are then making the decision as outlined in the section that Wendy has made reference to in 3.23. So I'll open it up to members to have that debate. As I say, my preference would certainly be to continue with the participatory budgeting model. But Councillor Scobie, I've got a speak from you and then Jim McComb.
Yeah, Chair, I think this has been at Communities Committee, and Communities Committee then deferred it to all the 4 area committees. And I think the general feeling was on this particular year that we move away from participatory budgetary process, and back to area committee to take decisions on this, on the poverty and inequality budget money. And I think there's imminent sins in doing that, given that we've just gone through one participatory budget that just finished, I think, last week. So I think that we should get this money out as soon as possible, and the quickest way, in my opinion, of doing this is to do it through area committee on this year because of COVID, and that there are groups out there who are really struggling and needing this money as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. I mean, obviously, we would need to look at diaries. There would need to be a seminar being brought forward, and then I'm assuming we'd need to come back to agree those allocations. So it wouldn't be just as easy as to put that money out. We do have a process for participatory budgeting. I don't know, I would, before I bring Councillor McComb back in, Wendy, can you confirm, is either method slightly quicker, easier to do, in your opinion, as the lead officer within this fund?
Great, thank you, Chair. In terms of the differences between the two sets of funding, the area committee one could be done slightly quicker because all we would need to do would be to hold a seminar where the elected members agreed what the upper limits were for the funding, lower limits, and also the items that they wish to prioritise. So you would look at your eligibility, your criteria and your priorities for this year that you would wish the £50,500 to be funded for, which is slightly different to what's been included at section, the section alluded to in the report. It would be quicker to do it that way because we could call the seminar quite quickly. We could draft up the draft the draft priorities criteria and eligibility, and then come back to the next area committee meeting with that information, or we could call an extra meeting to do that, to agree it, and then we could open the funding for that. In terms of the PB process, it would be slightly longer because a steering group would need to be formed, which would then agree the priorities, eligibility and criteria. And then that would agree also the upper and lower limits of the fund and the allocation process. So I think in terms of the difference between the two, the area committee would be slightly quicker, but obviously it's up to elected members which way they would prefer to do that.
Okay, no, that's helpful. Thank you. Councillor McComb, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. At 3.9, it states that a relatively small number of participants took part in the PB exercise. Is it possible to know how many participants actually voted? I'm sure we have had this information before.
We have, Councillor McComb, you're quite right. Wendy, do you have that information, or if you don't have it today, are you able to send it out to members? Obviously, that's looking at this almost monitoring of it in the past, but it is useful for members to have that information, obviously, when we're deciding the efficiency of this method.
Yeah. Certainly, thank you, Chair. We're just about to announce the results of the latest round of PB funding, and within that there's quite a lot of statistical information that's available on the number of people who have been involved in this process, and certainly I can send that along to members along with previous year's statistics as well as soon as that's available. That would be no problem at all to do that. That
would be very useful, Chair.
Yeah. Thank you.
I do have some reservations about PB. First of all, if the area committee is allocating money, we are obliged to declare an interest. If you are involved in a PB exercise, you do not declare an interest. You simply vote. You may well be a member of a large organisation. You may well benefit directly from the work of that organisation, but you're not required to declare any interest. Secondly, a PV may not necessarily reflect real need. Rather, it reflects an organisation's popularity, or possibly its ability to enlist support. So at the end of the day, it is basically a popularity poll. So I do have reservations with regard to PB.
Yep, thank you, Councillor McComb. I think these are all issues that have been raised, and they're concerns that people have brought up previously. I think because it's quite new, people are still getting used to it, and it's improving, I would say. But I think, yeah, they're all really valid points, and they are things that we need to consider, absolutely. But Councillor Ingalls, you've got your hand up. I'll bring you in next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I have, similar to Councillor McComb, I have reservations about PB, you know, and the effectiveness of how that money is distributed. In this instance, I think I would tend to favour Councillor Scobie's suggestion that we do this through the area committee in this instance.
Yep, no, thank you. And I think that's the general consensus I'm hearing here, that's what members are looking for. And certainly, you know, I think it is pertinent that if this can get the money out the door quicker and we can reach those groups that need them, that's what we want to decide. But Councillor Scobie, you're looking to come back in on that one, are you?
Yeah, and all pertinent points being made by Davy and Jim. I have had reservations of PB from the very start, and it has improved. It's not a new process. I think this is at least the third, if not the fourth, year that we've run PB, and it has improved from the beginning. But there are still issues in there that we need to look at, and some have been raised today, and there are others. Whether this is a correct method in moving forward, or the most efficient and effective method in moving forward with PB. But in this year, as consensus seems to be now, if not the unanimous decision of the members, that we do go on to just doing it through area committee on this year.
Yeah, so if members are happy under the recommendation 2.1, we're noting the allocation, which we've done, and then we're agreeing that a grant application process set out in the paragraph 3.5 to 310. David, I see your hands up on that one. Is it in relation to that? Yeah.
It was just, sorry, Chair, it was just a quick question that maybe can't be addressed today, but it would be interesting to know just how top heavy participatory budgeting exercises are when it comes to staff time. You know, the involvement of the staff in organising participatory budgeting process. It'd be interesting to know just what's involved in that.
Yep, I'm sure we can get some details of that from Wendy at a later stage. Yep. So are we happy to agree that we're noting and agreeing the grant application under 2.1, just to keep this separate in the recommendation? Great.
Yeah.
So thank you, members. So then we move on to 2.2, which is noting the strategic framework for the area committee discretionary budget as details in 3.12 and Appendix 1. Are we happy to note the framework for that?
Noted.
Okay. And are we happy to note that the allocation for Wigtown Area Committee for 21-22 discretionary budget is £62,451.34, and the agreed 6 priorities as set out in paragraph 3.15? Councillor Ingalls, you've still got your hand up. I don't know if you had any questions on that one. Nope, it's gone down again. There we are.
Apologies, Chair.
No, you're fine.
You're a bit slow in getting to the speak.
Yep, Councillor Scobie.
One reason I hate this system. I'm looking at Appendix 2 and looking at the 62,000, agreeing that we've got 62,442 with a carryover of last year of 2,000 odd.
We're still on 2.3, so we're not actually at that point yet. We're still looking at Appendix 1.
Yeah. Want to clarify on that one, Chair? So we're still to return to that one.
We are. So we've noted 2.2. We're noted 2.3, and now we'll go into 2.4, which is to agree the civic events and initiatives as referenced in 3.16, totalling the 56,442.28 as set out in paragraph 2, and agree to invite expressions of interest to deliver them as set out. So yes, in Appendix 2, Councillor Scobie, let's open the debate up on that one, if indeed we want to start talking about specifics.
Absolutely, Chair, and I'm noting that that's 56,000, and then we come on to the support for organising wishing to host festivals or events, and I think it is about opening up. It's about trying to restart, renew and recover, and I don't know, well, I'm saying I don't know, I don't think 6,000 is perhaps it's rather low from the others, and I would hope that we could increase that 6,000. But I will take the advice of officers in terms of previous applications that we've had and what we would expect for this incoming year, given that we are moving away from lockdown, and by June, July, August, we could be on zero status. So I think that we may have more village fetes, various other festival events, and there could be a bigger demand on that particular section, and I don't think that we've maybe given it enough credence in that amount.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. So, I mean, we did have quite a large discussion and debate on this at the seminar. I appreciate you weren't able to attend that seminar, and there is only a finite amount of money. So obviously, if we were to increase that allocation, we'd have to decrease another allocation on that one.
Chair,
but
whether or not at it, I was not at it, but things were not the same as they are now. And today is the day that we take the decision, not at a seminar.
No, absolutely. But the framework
right.
and the priorities
here
were
is that
discussed
we are in a different place now. And all I'm saying is, and I seek the guidance of the officers in that one, in terms of previous years, perhaps not last year, but on other years, you know, whether this has been a demand on you know, events, fetes, and it's about restarting and putting a bit of life back into the communities, whether we're indeed given enough in that section.
Yep, no, I'll pass over to Ingrid. I mean, certainly my understanding was we never allocated as much of money, and it wasn't required previously. And this is for festivals and events rather than for the community fetes, etc., which is covered under the first allocation. But I will defer to Ingrid to clarify the situation. What I would also say is there are some local festivals that are still cancelling for this year that will not be taking place because the COVID restrictions are continuing and people are going canny, so to speak. But Ingrid, are you able to answer the questions raised by Councillor Scobie, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to confirm that during the members' seminar, members did discuss the allocation regarding the kind of Christmas decorations events and the community events, and decided to combine those two allocations so that local communities actually had a bit more money that they could actually choose to do what they wanted to do with throughout the coming year. There was also a bit of discussion about actually uplifting some of the awards that were made to some of those communities. So there is an increase in that area, and then the 6,000 that has been allocated, that's been recommended for small grants. There is a slight increase in that as well.
Do any other members wish to come in, or Councillor Scobie, did you want to come back on those points?
Happy to accept what Ingrid is saying, that there is an increase in that one, and that there will be, in your estimation, Ingrid, then perhaps enough in the kitty, should any of them come forward with, you know, hosting events or putting on events, and I would hope that we would encourage that in the reflection of the monies that are there, both in the community events, so the nearly 25,000 and the 6,000, so adding those two together, then I think that we, notwithstanding that people are still cautious, and rightly so, that we do encourage communities to look at what they can put on for their own communities. I know last night we were looking at one in Drummoa that's doing a scarecrow competition and putting up £100 as a first prize to get people encouraged to joining in. So I think that from a council, then we should be encouraging communities still to work within the restrictions, no restrictions, but the cautious approach still with COVID about us.
Thank you, Councillor Scobie. So if we move to the key recommendations on here, 2.4 is to agree the key civic events and initiatives as referenced. Are we happy to agree those?
Agreed.
Yep, thank you, David.
Yes.
And then 2.5 is to agree the grant application process for the remaining £6,000 being up to £1,000 for local festivals and events as detailed. Taking on board the points Councillor Scobie made that these will be open for community groups as well as other organisations that are maybe already established. Are we happy to agree that? Councillor Ingalls?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if is it necessary to put that up to figure in there?
I think, well, certainly my preference would be to leave the up to, because that would only be a maximum of 6. But I mean, I don't know what other members feel. Whittonshire is quite a large area. If there's several communities all looking to bid into that money, certainly in the past, I mean, Ingrid, maybe you can confirm, but in the past we've had things like the Newton Stewart Walking Festival, we've had the Scottish Week, we've had the Traditional Music Festival. There's been other groups and organisations come forward, Ingrid. I don't know if you want to add to the examples of what those local festivals could be.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to say that when we had the member seminar, members considered the small grants, because the small grants allow us to allocate that money a lot quicker than what we would if we were going through the application process, which is for £1,001 and up. So yeah, I mean that was the reason why the small grants are up to 1,000 was recommended at the seminar. Yeah, I hope that helps to clarify that.
Happy with that. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So if we're happy to agree 2.5, and then the last recommendation, 2.6, is to agree the arrangements set out in 3.23, relating back to the first one, which we've actually already agreed.
Yeah.
David, your hand is up, and Wendy, you've got your hand up there as well. Okay.
Great, thank you, Chair. It was just to clarify in relation to 3.23, it's discussing the possibility of already agreeing what the priorities would be and the upper limits for the funding. But I just wanted to establish and confirm if elected members wanted to go down that route, or if we wanted to hold a separate seminar which would potentially agree different priorities and commitments and upper and lower limits. So it was just to clarify that point with the elected members, if that was okay, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, no, thank you, Wendy, for drawing the attention to that. I mean, certainly my preference would be to have a seminar so we can actually ensure that the priorities are still bang on, so to speak. But I don't know if the other elected members have a preference on whether you're happy to go with this, or whether you would too also like to have a seminar to look and discuss those priorities for the area.
No, happy to agree with you, Chair. I think that's correct.
Councillor McComb, Councillor Scobie, do you have any thoughts? Yep.
Chair, it would be nice to think that the seminar could actually be a face-to-face event. I think it would help greatly if that was possible.
I think it would, Jim, but I think unless we can guarantee the weather to meet outside, I wouldn't be wishing to put any staff or members in the position where we're, in breaking the rules essentially, and we do have a responsibility not only to ourselves but to council officers and staff as well. But can I defer that back to Wendy to make the arrangements for that one? If the rules allow and we are able to meet face to face, then let's make those arrangements. But I would defer to the council officers to ensure that the arrangements put in place are following the strict guidelines that we're working within.
Chair, I would in no way advocate breaking the rules.
No, I
If
appreciate
the
that.
rules allow, then by all means, have a face-to-face seminar.
Thank you. No, that's helpful. Councillor Scobie, were you wanting to add anything on this one before we agree the final recommendation?
No, really, Chair, it's all laid out there. I think, we'd only be fine-tuning what's already in there. I would hope we can do this as quickly as possible to get this money out. I'm not sure if seminar would be the forum to do that, because it's got no decision-making powers. We need to get this money out, so maybe that's an area committee meeting. And like Jim, I would like to think that we can do face-to-face, provided it's safe. And listen, if the Scottish Parliament and the UK Parliament can meet the way that they do, I can see why we can't do the same. It seems a bit of hypocrisy on the part of the legislators.
We'll certainly take on board those comments, Councillor Scobie. And yes, I think we need to make sure, and we'll check the diaries and make sure we can get another date specifically, even if it's just this one item on the agenda. But I don't have any other business for today. The sun is still shining. We still have blue sky outside, so I shall let those who can get out and enjoy the weather. And I would urge you all to make sure you cast your votes tomorrow for the Scottish Parliament elections, because as we all know, democracy is very, very important. But thank you very much for your time today, and take care, folks.